we are going to learn your last two abilities today, which is really exciting. And then I'm going to show you all how to sit and how to switch chairs. And then maybe we'll practice if we have time. And then you will have something that you'll need to do in your books. And you'll take a picture of that and you'll email it to me. So the first one that we need to learn is to postpone indefinitely.
Oh, shoot. Oh. Postpone
Oh. I made my little cards. Hopefully that helps you.
Wait, is definitely the one that's December 22nd, 2 p.m. ag room?
There's postpone definitely and there's postpone indefinitely. We're going to learn about indefinitely first.
Okay.
Wait, what's the new one?
Oh, she's back.
The first one is postpone. Welcome back. The first one is postpone indefinitely.
Don't mind me opening my chips.
I'm so hungry.
I know I have lunch after this, and I'm very
Okay, these are like the best.
Oh, they're
These are
so
the best
They're
chips
so
ever.
good.
But they get your fingers, like you can't eat them in a COVID world in public because you have to like lick your fingers afterwards. So I haven't eaten them. I almost wanted to get them for
I
school.
know
and
they're
then I
so
didn't want to lick
good.
my fingers at school because of COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's wait. I have to wait until I'm clean.
Oh,
Okay, postpone indefinitely is a subsidiary motion. So we had privileged, we learned about our incidental ones yesterday, and these are the last two of our subsidiary motions.
subsidiary motion.
Subsidiary.
Subsidiary.
Subsidiary. I'll get to this in a second. You do need recognition from the chair. So you do have to stand up and say, Madam or Mr. Chair. It is debatable, but in a contest or a demonstration, and I'll tell you why, you really want to limit your debate on any of the postpones to one debate and then vote on it. Like let the person who made the postpone debate on it and then get it out of the way. So it is debatable, but I would not suggest you doing it for long. And it's not amendable. There's no details within postpone indefinitely that you can amend, that you can change. You're either doing it or you're not. And then it requires.
Is Ryan making a sandwich?
Oh.
No, I'm putting
Are you
hot
making
microwave so I can dip strawberries in it.
She really was in the kitchen though, cooking. We were right about that.
Something.
Okay, and it requires a majority vote.
Majority vote.
So the purpose of to postpone indefinitely is to kill the motion without a direct vote. So basically it's saying for whatever reason, we shouldn't decide on this, we can't decide on it, we would vote no anyways because there's extenuating circumstances that say we can't do this even if we wanted to. So we're just going to kill it without actually putting ourselves in the minutes that we took that vote on it. So basically this would be used if like let's say we were, what was the example I used in practice? Let's say that we were making a debate that we wanted to go to Cedar Point, okay? We wanted to take a FFA trip to Cedar Point. And at some point in debate, somebody stands up to make it logical and says, this is not something we should even be considering. 2 weeks ago, they came out on the Channel 4 news and said that Cedar Point actually has gone bankrupt and is closing down for good. So there's no reason for us to consider this motion because we cannot go to Cedar Point. Okay, it's closed down. So maybe that's new information that people didn't know, but now that you do know it, there's no reason to vote on if we want to go to Cedar Point or not because Cedar Point doesn't exist, right? So maybe somebody stands up and says that, and then you could kind of to set you up, and then you could stand up and say, the way that you would word it, you want to write this down, is I move to postpone this motion indefinitely. I move to postpone this motion indefinitely. The chair would say, is there a second? Somebody would second it. They would say, AJ, being the maker of this motion, you have first rights to debate. AJ could stand up and say, we just found out that Cedar Point is closed for good. They're not reopening. We don't have this opportunity. So unless we're going to amend this motion, we might as well just kill it, right? There's no reason for us to take time considering it. So then people could vote on, so then all those in favor of postponing this motion indefinitely, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Motion passes, okay? In a demonstration or a contest, you don't want to postpone it indefinitely because then you're getting rid of one of your motions unless you're gonna try and do it towards the end of debate. The tricky thing is though, if you go with something like that, where somebody's saying, hey, Cedar Point has been bankrupt, is then if you fail that postpone indefinitely, what would be the next logical thing to do? You guys know?
To postpone it.
If we brought up that Cedar Point is bankrupt, and so we can't go to Cedar Point, and we tried to move to postpone it indefinitely, and that failed, what would be the next logical thing for us to do as a meeting?
Postpone it definitely.
But why? Cedar Point isn't opening back up again.
Oh.
And all further debate with the one thing where you like to
Yeah, call the division of the House.
vote.
So you're saying, Ryan, previous question and then just vote on it?
Yeah.
Okay, and vote no. What else?
Wait, could you amend it?
Yeah, what would we amend it to?
We could say like Kings Island instead of Cedar Point.
Yeah, so if you guys are in a demonstration situation and you have that would be a really beautiful way to do that, is saying, you know, we can't do this because this place has gone bankrupt. They're closed for good. You move to postpone it indefinitely. That fails because you should pretty much fail everything. So you can't debate on it as if we can still go to Cedar Point, right? Because kind of like improv, right? You never say no, whatever's, you can't just be like, oh, wait, no, never mind. It's not bankrupt, right? But you could get up and say, I move to amend this motion by striking out the words Cedar Point and inserting the words Kings Island, so that if passed, a new motion now read, I move to take a FFA trip to Kings Island. And then when you debate on it, you know, since Cedar Point is bankrupt, this would be a similar trip, but it's a different location, and you could get that done pretty easily. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's postponed indefinitely. The other one that we need to learn about is to postpone definitely. Okay. Postpone definitely is also a subsidiary motion. Postpone definitely does need recognition from the chair. So you do have to stand up and say, Madam or Mr. Chair. It is debatable. And postpone definitely is amendable because you're going to give amendable details to that motion. It also requires a majority vote. If you guys remember, when is the only time that something that the motions that you guys know, when is the only time that one of them requires a 2/3 vote?
Oh,
What's the
isn't
overarching?
It's calling the previous question.
Yeah. That's the only one you guys know that has a 2/3 vote. What's the overarching rule as to when something requires a 2/3 vote?
They have to stand up or raise their hand. It
Yeah,
has to
but
be
why does
callable.
Why is it that it requires a 2/3 vote?
I don't know.
Because it's ending debate,
Which is doing what?
like ending the parliamentary thingamajig.
What are you doing by ending debate? What are you taking away from the members?
Discussion time.
Yeah, you're taking away their ability and their right to debate. So anything something limits the rights of its membership, it requires a 2/3 vote. Does that make sense? Taking away that right to do that, it needs 2/3. So to postpone definitely basically just means that you're delaying that motion until a very specified time. So whereas postpone indefinitely just gets rid of it, postpone definitely says, hey, yo, we don't have the details for this right now. Let's wait until this exact date, time, and location, and then we'll talk about it again when we have those details. So even if we refer it to a committee right now, they don't have the details to figure this out. So we're just going to wait until later. A good example of this might be like, hey, we have a motion to go to see who's a good comedian.
Kevin
Kevin
Hart.
Hart.
Okay, we want to go see Kevin Hart. We want to go see a Kevin Hart show. Maybe it's not the most school appropriate comedian we can go see, but we want to go see a Kevin Hart show. Okay, so we make a motion that says we want to go see Kevin Hart in Cleveland on February 3rd. Okay, that's our motion. I want to go. We move to go take an FFA trip to see Kevin Hart in Cleveland on February 3rd. So maybe at some point through debate, somebody says, you know, I don't know if we can afford this. Like maybe we can't do this. And somebody else could stand up and say, I move to postpone this motion definitely until December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the ag room. So that's how you would word that motion. I move to postpone this motion definitely until December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the ag room. The chair would ask for a second. It gets seconded. The chair would say it has been properly moved by Chloe and seconded by Kelly to postpone this motion definitely until December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the ag room. Chloe being the maker of this motion, you have first rights to debate. Chloe would stand up and say, you know, we're talking about whether or not we can afford to go to this show or not, but they actually haven't released tickets for sale yet. And those tickets get released on December 20th. So once we know what seats are available and how much those different seats are, we'll really be able to figure out if we can afford to go to this show or not, because the ticket prices haven't even been released yet. So let's postpone this motion definitely so that we can make a more informed decision after ticket prices are released. Okay, so you're saying at that point we should know, and then we can really make a good decision. But you want a good reason as to why you're debating or delaying it for that. So you'd make one debate on postpone definitely. You'd vote on it. You want to fail it, right? Because we fail everything. And then you would just proceed with discussion. Two things on this. One, with the postpones, we only want to postpone once, or we only want to debate it once, because what do we have to say with our debates? What's the word? It starts with a G. What do we want? Yeah,
Germaine.
we want to keep our debates germane, which means that they are relating to the topic of that motion. So what happens a lot with postpones is we get back to the merits of the main motion, not the merits of postponing it or not. So usually by the second or third debate on postpone, people get back to talking about whether or not we should actually be doing that event. And that's not the motion on the table. The motion on the table is whether or not we should talk about it now or put it off until later.
Yeah.
So that's why you really just want to do one debate on it, give your reasoning as to why you're postponing it, and then vote on it so you don't get low scores on later debates that could not be germane to the motion. The other thing why I taught you to say December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the ag room is the advanced team came up with that a few years ago because there's a couple advanced abilities that have to name like a certain date and time. And so December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the ag room is super easy to remember because it's all twos, right? So when you're rattling off something that long, I move to postpone the motion that we go to a Kevin Hart show in Cleveland in February until December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the ag room, you kind of make it muscle memory and rattle it off really quick. And so that way you're not having to remember after debate when you have to restate it for the vote, like, shoot, what date and time did they say? Did they say December 12th at 4:45? Like, that's a lot for your chairs to remember. So if you just always say December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the ag room, you know what your teammates are going to say. It's just kind of some strategy on that. Also, if you're doing the contest, all of the state competition is over by December 22nd. So that's always going to be a future date for you, because what you wouldn't want to do is say, let's postpone it until November 30th. That becomes the number you always use. And at the state contest on December 12th, you're saying, let's postpone it to November 30th, which is now a year away, right? And that's not as logical. So it's an easy date to remember that's always applicable. And so we just say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have questions? Do these make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we can practice those in just a second. But before we do, we're going to kind of move on. And I want to teach you guys two more things. I want to teach you guys the order that you set in for a meeting. And I also want to teach you guys how to change chairs. So if you guys flip a couple pages, you should find a blank sheet that at the top says, how should a meeting room set? And it says, draw it. So the first thing I want you to do is draw a rectangle like this. And we're going to write the word door at the end. And then below that, I want you to draw a rectangle like that. So we're going to talk on this one first. Where do most formal meetings take place?
In a conference room.
In a conference room, right? Usually in a boardroom, in a conference room, something like that. So typically, when you're in a conference room and you're sitting at a conference table, you're going to have some seats sitting around it that look like this, right? Like you would have two chairs on either side and then maybe one on each end.
What'd you write in the middle?
Huh?
What'd you write in the middle of the rectangle?
It says table.
Oh, okay.
So the way that this would set is at the head of the table, furthest from the door, is where the president's going to sit. They're going to sit at the head of the table. They're going to have the gavel. They are in control of the meeting room. If you think about like a dinner table, who would sit at the other head of the table, do you think?
Vice President.
The vice president. So the president and vice president sit directly across from each other, and they're also the heads of the table. So they are the ones that are in charge. Directly beside the president and always to the president's left, so if they're facing this, your right when you're drawing this, is the secretary. Okay. So the secretary sits right beside the president because they're going to be taking what during the meeting?
Notes.
Yeah, they're going to be taking notes. They're going to be taking minutes is what we call them. So they want to be able to be close to the president. That way they can hear who the president is saying that's discussing. They can hear who gets the second, that type of stuff. And they also are close enough that they can ask really casual questions to the president if they need something clarified. To the other side of the president is going to sit the reporter. So that way, again, they're writing down details maybe, so that if that needs to be sent out in an email, that needs to be sent out to a press release, that needs to be sent out to a newspaper. They want to put that on Facebook right away. That reporter is right there and getting all of those details as well. Beside the reporter, the treasurer is going to sit. They're going to have all the financial statements. And then beside the secretary is going to be the advisor, or in your guys' case, the student advisor. So they're to offer counsel and advice when needed. The sentinel doesn't actually get a seat at the table, but they're going to be in a chair over here by the door. So that way, if somebody walks in, they can give them an agenda, they can point them to the refreshments. They're there to welcome people to the meeting.
Poor Hazel.
That's Joe.
Oh, I thought Hazel was chaplain, isn't she?
Yeah. So this is the formal setup, like according to Robert's Rules of Order and the way a meeting room should be set. A lot of our FFA meetings, though, where do we have those?
Auditorium.
In the auditorium. So what kind of tables do our officers sit at?
Long table.
At a long table facing the audience. So when we talk about how the order that they set in at a long table, it's really just an adaptation and kind of unfolding this. Okay, so the president is still going to stand in the middle.
Joe would be stationed by the door, wouldn't he?
Yep.
Like, okay.
So the
Oh,
president
is that
is in the
why
middle
his
of our
like
long
station
table.
thing is like stationed by the door when they like do opening ceremonies?
Yeah.
I totally get that now. I always wondered why it was a door.
Through this door pass many friends of the FFA. It is my job to make sure the meeting room is comfortable. So if we're unfolding this, then the secretary is still going to be to the president's left, and the reporter.
That'd be our right?
Yes. Still to their right. So you see how this is just kind of unfolding that way?
Can you go outside? Come on.
Beside the secretary then will be the advisor, and beside the reporter will be the treasurer. And then beside the treasurer is going to be the vice president, because we're going to unfold it this way. So we're going to like unfold it, drawing a line through it like that. So beside the treasurer sits the vice president. Beside the advisor sits the sentinel. For our chapter purposes, our chaplain sits beside the sentinel. And for competition purposes, the member, who on your guys' team is Logan, is going to sit in between the sentinel and the secretary. Or the sentinel and the advisor, sorry.
Okay, I'm just asking, did you do it backwards? Because always in the meetings, there's the president, and then Joe's like down here. So I have it the backwards way that you have it.
Just switch over. Yes, it is backwards.
Okay,
I unfolded it because I had the way the table had it. So if we put the door over here, then the sentinel's always close to the door.
No, like if I was like in the auditorium, like up here, and they're down here, it would be her, and then Joe's down here.
Yeah.
So
if this is if this, sorry, I'm scribbling all over this paper.
So does it really matter which way you put it? He's always just stationed. They're just always stationed by the door.
If the audience is here looking at them, this is how they would be set, right? No, it would be backwards.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And
It's backwards.
in a normal meeting room, you do want the sentinel closest to the door. FFA purposes, usually when you're looking at the officers, the vice president is always furthest to the left. Yeah. Wait a second, I did that really wrong.
Yeah, it's backwards. It's the other way around.
I got all kind of funky when I was trying to like do that unfolding thing. Okay, so it should be vice president. If we're working left to right, it should be vice president, treasurer, reporter, president, secretary,
Advisor and sentinel.
advisor, sentinel.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I don't know why I totally got that. Even when you unfold it, that's how it should go. So I just wrote those in all sorts of wrong places.
So not this.
Yeah, this is how it should go. So left to right, it should be vice president, treasurer, reporter, president, secretary, advisor, sentinel.
Wow.
So sorry. And then the audience.
I'm just gonna start over.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, can you like keep holding that up?
Yes.
Doors.
Okay, I think I got it.
If you're watching this later, you can pause this video. So in a demonstration or in a meeting, the sentinel is actually going to get to go in the room first. And they are going to check and make sure all the officer stations are in the right place. So who's your guys' sentinel?
Joe.
No, for the Parley Pro team.
No clue. Oh, it's Jason, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, isn't it Jason?
It might be.
I thought Jason was president.
He is for his team, for his class team, but not for the Parley team.
I don't know that's gonna be yet.
Still working.
What am I for the Parley team? Aren't I student advisor?
Maybe.
I think I am.
Okay. That is all I have for you guys today. Tomorrow, I have a virtual meeting all afternoon, so we're not going to have a live Zoom meeting tomorrow. But I will have something that you guys can get on the website, and you'll just have a little chart to like fill out to review, make like a cheat sheet basically for yourselves for Parley Pro. So that'll be on there tomorrow. You'll need to get that done and send it to me. And then on Friday, we will have a live Zoom meeting, and that's one where we'll really start to practice. So that'll be one that's important for everybody to be on, so we can practice debating and like making abilities and stuff.
Where's Silas at? He hasn't been on here.
I don't know. Maybe check
We're
in.
missing a lot